Alright, another review video for mercantilism. If you remember, and this was on the quiz too, but if you remember this little political cartoon here, it really demonstrates that definition of mercantilism. And I'll show you my notebook in a minute here, but remember that mercantilism is this economic relationship between the colonies and the colonizing country, or the mother country, which in our case is England. Remember that. The 13 colonies, their mother country is England. It is not Spain. So remember, the colonies have all these raw materials that England needs, so they buy them at a very cheap price, and then they manufacture a finished product or finished good, and they sell it back to the colony. Remember, this was the activity we did in class with the flowers. You were either a colonist or you were the British, and you were either cutting out flowers and selling them for 1 penny, or you were putting finished flowers together and selling them back for 3 pennies. And if you remember in our activity, the colonists ended up with the least amount of pennies. And if you were on the British side, you ended up with the most pennies, because every time that you were selling back a finished product, you were making a profit of 2 pennies. So this little political cartoon right here, and just, again, this one was on the quiz, and we talked about how this mother country, this woman right here, represents England, and all of these servants, in a way, and their aprons say it, they represent the colonies, and all of these things that the mother country would just get from the colonies, without really having to do a ton of work itself. So this is not an example of representative government. Remember that this mother country that we're talking about in this picture represents England, not Spain. And it also represents that the mother country needs these colonies. The colonies are useful to her, so she needs them. And just remember that it's also a symbol of control. This mother country has clear control, and that's why these people are her servants in this picture. It's not the other way around. She controls them. Some vocabulary that also goes along with mercantilism is export, import, and raw materials, just as a reminder. So exports are goods that are going out to another country, and imports are goods that are coming into a country. So when we think about mercantilism, England is importing raw materials for a very low cost, and they are exporting finished products for a higher price so that they make money. So just when it comes to the quiz, make sure you're reading that really carefully and understanding export versus import. And England has to make money, so they import things cheap and export things more expensively so that they can make money. And what they're importing from the colonies are these raw materials. So mercantilism, again, an economic system used by European nations to get rich. The money that they charged for exports was greater than the money that they paid for imports. So just this last drawing to finish it up here. The colonies did not get rich off of this economic strategy. England got rich off of this economic strategy. So there was one statement on the quiz about, the colonies use this strategy to get rich. No. England, the mother country, gets rich. So raw materials to England, finished products back to the colonies. Remember that the colonies were only allowed to trade with England. They could not trade with any other country. So England really benefited with that, because England would get all those raw materials, and yeah, they'd sell back to the colonies, but they'd also sell to other countries and make a nice profit. England needed the colonies for raw materials, remember. So again, just like in our flower activity, England couldn't just make the flowers on their own because they didn't have the parts of the flower. The colonies couldn't make the flower on their own because they didn't have the tape or the markers. So they needed each other. It just was that England had more power in this situation and was able to control the colonies in order to make a nice profit and more money for themselves. So when you're studying for the quiz, just remember this drawing, and maybe draw it out for yourself a couple times again, just to remind yourself the relationship here between the colonies and England for mercantilism. That's the review.